If you know me, you know that I love the draft. You know that I love doing mock drafts. You know I love looking up scouts and learning new stuff about new players. But you guys have been asking me to go over free agency. You guys have been asking me to get a list of guys together that I would love to see on this team. So that is what I did. Free agency is a time where people get overpaid. You get paid for what you could be and not necessarily what you have been. So I look at these players and I'm looking at young guys. I'm looking at guys that can grow with this team. I don't feel that we're where we need to be to go out there and get top end guys and, say that we're a player away. So I'm going to go over this list. Let's just get right into it. What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today I want to talk about these free agents. I want to go over my list of guys that I would love to see on this team. Now, obviously, not all these players are going to be on this team. Maybe none of these players will be on this team, but this is just my opinion. Now, before we get into this list, please do me a favor, take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We just hit 3,100 yesterday. We would love to hit 4K soon. So I'm only 900 away. 900 is not that much. 900 is really not that much. But I would love for you guys to join that ride. But let's get right into this list, man, because I am hyped for this. All right, so we start this off. Like you can see, the highest aged guy I have is at 29 years old. I want guys that can grow with this roster. But let's just hop right into it. We'll start with the wide receivers in the bunch. Obviously, a Davante Adams is a little bit of a high aspiration, right? Asking for Davante Adams might be a little bit unrealistic. Again, we don't even know if he's going to become a free agent. The Green Bay Packers might fix everything with them and Aaron Rodgers, and they might go for another go. But he's a guy I would love on this team, and I think I'm not in the minority saying that. That would be a dream pickup this offseason to get a guy that could be a number one wide receiver for you, and you just start off the season hot with somebody like him and Devontae Smith on the other side. Davante Adams also did say that, if you're going to mess up his name, make sure you spell it like Devontae Smith. So there seems to be some admiration there. There seems to be some love there. So I would love to see him in Philadelphia Eagles attire. Now we go to Mike Williams. Mike Williams, 27, obviously comes from an offense that likes to pass the ball a lot. Very pass-heavy offense. Will he get the same type of production in Philadelphia where we don't have the same quarterback play, don't have the same philosophy as far as passing the ball goes? Maybe it changes this year. Maybe they want to pass the ball again. But I think that Mike Williams at the right price would be a great player to add to this locker room. I've said this time and time again, I don't think this is the draft. While I think there's a lot of, great wide receivers in this draft, I don't think this is the draft that you go crazy on wide receiver and take a first round guy. I think that this is a draft that you have to put all your chips into this defense. There's a lot of good defensive players. And for that reason, I think that you have to look at a wide receiver, a veteran wide receiver in the free agency. So Mike Williams would obviously be a lot cheaper than a Davante Adams, but he would still be a very good player to add, a very good piece to add to this offense. Now, another guy, Chris Godwin. Look, I am a Penn State fan. That is no secret. I love Chris Godwin. I loved Chris Godwin when he was coming out of the draft. Chris Godwin is fast. Chris Godwin can run he can run every route. He can run every route, has great hands. He's an amazing player, in my opinion. Obviously, coming off the injury, he's another guy Tampa Bay probably will try. If I was them, I would try to lock him up long term. Only 25 years old, has had some great years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, having a guy like, Tom Brady for the latter part of it helps your numbers a lot. But Chris Godwin has been on a very, very stacked offense even before Tom Brady was there, and he was able to make moves and make things happen and make huge plays. So he's a guy I would love to see on the Philadelphia Eagles. And the last wide receiver I have on here is a hated name, but it is what it is. We have to be honest here, right? Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup has been, since the beginning of this year, somebody that a lot of Cowboys fans and Cowboys content creators, reporters, whenever I talk to them, always say his name as a possible cap casualty. So seeing his name out there, I would not mind at all having a Michael Gallup on this team. Do I think that he's a number one? Possibly. He could possibly be that. But right now, he's at the very least a very, very solid number two to Devontae Smith. You add him to the lineup of Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins, and I think you really have something there, a very young offensive core, at the wide receiving position, and a very good wide receiving core at the wide receiving position. So I'm hyped if we get a Michael Gallup. Now we went to defense, right? So J.C. Jackson, if you follow this channel, I have been talking about J.C. Jackson since the beginning of the year. Since he was a restricted free agent, I was pounding the table for the Philadelphia Eagles to go ahead and give up that second round pick that it would have taken for us to go ahead and grab J.C. Jackson. If you watched this year at all, if you watched any Patriots games at all this year, you could see that I was right about that. You could see as soon as Stephon Gilmore, who is an amazing player in his own right, as soon as Stephon Gilmore left, it was all on J.C. Jackson, and J.C. Jackson rose to the challenge. J.C. Jackson, while he's not the biggest guy in the world, obviously only 28 years old, he can do it all. He is an amazing man-on-man guy. He's an amazing zone coverage guy. Realistically, he steps in and becomes one of, if not our best cornerbacks, and that's including Darius Slay. And this gives you options, right? This gives you options to go ahead and move on from a Darius Slay next year. This gives you options to move on from a Steven Nelson this year. This gives you options to let whatever young guys you have in there, whether it be a Kerry Vincent, Zach McPherson, or a Tay Gowan, or whoever we add this year, gives you time to allow them to develop. So I would love to see a J.C. Jackson on this team. Again, kind of high hopes, kind of high aspirations. If I'm the Patriots, I'm not letting them walk. So that it is what it is. But if they do, I will be there to pick you up, JC. I will be there to pick you up, JC. Staying on defense, we're going to look at safety. Now, Marcus Williams is the main name that a lot of people are talking about. I wouldn't mind Marcus Williams at all. I've seen Justin Reed being brought up a lot from the Texans. I've seen a couple of different. There's a lot of safeties, honestly, in this free agency that wouldn't be too bad. But I do want to stay young, right? So I went with Jessie Bates or Marcus Williams. Jessie Bates, maybe not as prolific right now as Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams had a really good year last year, and he's been on a really good defense. But Jessie Bates is no slouch. Jessie Bates, also 25 years old, coming from a very good defense. I wouldn't be mad at either of these guys. I think that if you look at this draft and say we're probably not going to be able to get an elite or, high-end safety, which most likely we won't be able to be honest, because I think there's maybe 3 really good safeties. Maybe 3. You're looking at Kyle Hamilton. You're looking at old boy from Georgia, Kine, I think his name is. I'm blanking on his name. And then there was one more dude, and I'm obviously going to forget his name. But there's 3 guys in this draft class right now as far as safety. The possibility of us actually nabbing one of them is probably pretty low, especially kind of looking at, Jaquan Brisker. That's the 3rd guy I like in this class. But you look at those 3 guys, Jaquan has been steadily rising up boards, so you're probably going to have to take him either with your 2nd round pick if he's even there. Kine has fell to a lot of 2nd round mocks, so maybe you can end up with him. Very, very highly doubtful that we end up with Kyle Hamilton, and I think you guys all know that. So I would love Marcus Williams. I would love Jessie Bates. They would instantly upgrade our secondary. If you want to bring an Anthony Harris back, okay. If you want to bring a Rodney McLeod back, okay. I guess it is what it is. And then another name that I've heard has been Hassan Riddick. Look, last year, I liked Hassan Riddick coming into free agency, obviously coming from the Cardinals. He had a great year, probably his best year, right? I think he had 12 sacks last year. This year, he follows it up with 11. So last year, I was a little bit worried about his influx in production, right? So like last year he had 12 sacks out of it. Don't quote me on the number. I'm pretty sure it's 12 though. But last year he had, a massive amount of sacks out of nowhere, really. His first couple years really weren't that productive. And then he kind of blew up. So it kind of got me nervous last year. So I will be honest, I wasn't on the train of saying, let's go ahead and sign him. But he was an interesting prospect for us to look at. Now, the one thing I will say about Hassan Riddick is he's a pass rusher. That's about it. I don't necessarily trust him as a coverage guy. I don't necessarily trust him as our main guy in our linebacking core. So if you are to get Hassan Riddick, it is with that, caveat. It is with that one, It's with that one stipulation. You're going to be looking at him as a pass rush specialist. So you have to keep that in mind. It doesn't really fix our problems at the linebacking position. It's just a good player to add to the situation and see what he can do. Maybe he can continue to develop. Obviously, 27 is really not that old. And I've always said this. I could be wrong, but I feel like defenders, they get better with age because you get smarter. You start to learn a little bit more about offenses. You start to learn a little bit more what offenses are trying to do to you. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with Hassan Riddick, but it could. It definitely could. Hassan Riddick has made strides year on year, right? I feel like there's been a very obvious improvement in his game from year one to now. So he would be an interesting guy to bring into Philadelphia. I'm not saying let's go crazy for him, but I know a lot of people have been talking about him, so I wanted to at least bring him up. So those are my guys. Those are my guys. I went ahead and gave you 8 guys that I would love for the Philadelphia Eagles to bring onto this team. Now, like I said, not all these guys are going to be on this team. I highly doubt that we get more than 2 if we do. But if I had to pick 2, I would take a wide receiver and probably Marcus Williams. I like J.C. Jackson a lot. I do. I like J.C. Jackson a lot, but the only reason I would not pick him is because I think we can get cornerbacks in this draft, and I think we can get very good cornerbacks in this draft. So I would go ahead and shore up a safety spot, whether it's Marcus Williams or Jesse Bates. I'd prefer a Marcus Williams, obviously, but, and then you go ahead and get yourself a wide receiver. I would love to see Chris Godwin on this team. I would love it. If Devontae Adams came to this team, that's awesome, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. I would love to see Chris Godwin on this team. Bring him back to Pennsylvania. It would be an amazing, amazing thing. And, look, I as a Penn State fan, I'll say this, then I'll get out of here. As a Penn State fan, I have to watch all of my favorite players go to the worst teams that I have to, I had to watch Saquon go to the Giants and watch him get his career ruined by a horrible team. Had to obviously just watch Micah Parsons go to the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm from Connecticut. Dallas Cowboys signed a couple unsigned free agents from UConn, but that's neither here nor there. I know that you guys don't care about that. But these are the guys I want to see. So please, in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. Who do you guys want to see the Philadelphia Eagles add in this free agency? And how do you feel about the guys I said? But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Yeah. Fly Eagles Fly on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season head, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.